involving the shooting of a local elementary teacher. We're learning through court documents that have been sealed for months about the 6-year-old who Newport News police say shot his first grade teacher. Our News 3 reporter Kelsey Jones went through those documents and shares what she learned.
Through these documents, I learned that after the gunfire here at Rich Neck Elementary, that the school's reading specialist restrained the 6-year-old until police got to the school. And through these documents, it says that the 6-year-old made comments like, "I shot that bee dead, and I got my mom's gun last night." The afternoon of January 6th at Rich Neck Elementary will forever impact our community. That's where police say a 6-year-old shot his first grade teacher, Abby Zwerner. Through months-long sealed court documents, I learned exactly what happened as the class came back from recess into the classroom. Records reveal Zwerner told involving when the 6-year-old stood beside his desk, pulled out his gun from his jacket pocket, and shot her. Amy Kovac, a Rich Neck reading specialist, heard a gunshot and ran into the classroom, holding the 6-year-old until police got to the school. In these documents, you can see the first grader made comments to Kovac saying, "I did it. I shot that bee dead, and I got my mom's gun last night." Court papers show Deja Taylor, the 6-year-old's mom, told police that she normally either puts her gun in her purse with a trigger lock in place or in a lockbox. But on the morning of January 6th, she says that her gun was in her handbag with the trigger lock in place and her bag was on top of her dresser. This shooting made national news, but these documents reveal that the first grader has had past disciplinary incidents that were reported to school administration. Several of these incidents have involved threats of violence and physical violence, including choking a former NNPS teacher who pulled out his gun from his jacket pocket and shot her. Amy Kovac, a Rich Neck reading specialist, heard a gun, now retired, until she couldn't breathe. I did reach out to Newport News schools to get their side of the story, but they were unable to comment due to the federal law of FERPA. That's the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act that prevents schools from releasing info on a student without their consent or the parent's permission, which in this case we have not heard from Deja Taylor since the shooting. Now, I did reach out to the attorney representing the 6-year-old's family, where the mom is facing federal gun and drug charges.
But her attorney told us that this case is a complete tragedy and that Taylor's role in this case is a complete accident.
I really believe at the end of the day, Deja Taylor will get justice and compassion.
Deja Taylor was surrounded by family and her team of attorneys as she left the courthouse. Taylor, the mother of the 6-year-old boy who police say shot Newport News first grade teacher Abby Zwerner, pled guilty to using marijuana while in possession of a firearm and lying about her chronic marijuana use during the purchase of a firearm. Court documents say Newport News police ran an expedited search of the firearm that was used in the January 6th shooting, and it came back to Taylor.
A terrible tragedy because a brave and courageous teacher almost lost her life. Also a tragedy because a very young boy, a 6-year-old, somehow, somewhere got a hold of a gun owned by his mother, Miss Deja Taylor.
ATF agents then got a copy of Taylor's application from the Yorktown store where the gun was purchased and searched the home where she lived with her grandfather. They found marijuana and packaging for edibles in a garbage can 6 days after the shooting. They also found narcotics inside Taylor's home and inside her purse, but never found a lockbox for the gun or a trigger key during their search.
I want to stress that Miss Taylor, her role in this tragedy is a complete accident and a complete mistake. However, she takes full responsibility for the actions of her son and feels tremendous guilt.
Taylor's sentencing on these federal charges will be held in October, and we have much more on this case over on Wavy.com. In Newport News, Amy Avery, 10 on your...
Dealing with her own dismay since the shooting on January the 6th. Mrs. Newton has received threatening voicemails wishing her ill. She has also been the subject of misinformed social media posts, but has remained calm, professional, and respectful throughout this entire ordeal. It continues to be reported that unidentified school administrators were aware that the 6-year-old student had a gun at school on January 6th and simply failed to act. Mrs. Newton has been assumed to have been one of those administrators. However, this is far from the truth. The fact of the matter is that those who were aware that the student may have had a gun on the premises that day did not report this to Mrs. Newton at all. I repeat, Mrs. Newton was unfortunately not one of the administrators who was informed by those in the school that day who had this critical information. I can confirm that Mrs. Newton is being reassigned to another position within the school district. She is still employed with Newport News Public Schools. However, she will always want what's best for the students, staff, and administrators at Rich Neck Elementary School, and wishes its new leadership a safe, productive, and positive remainder of the year. It's very easy to demonize people you don't know when in the midst of an obviously upsetting and traumatic situation for everyone, such as what happened on January the 6th. But I want to tell you who Breonna Newton really is, not who she has been portrayed to be. This was Mrs. Newton's first year as principal at Rich Neck Elementary School, and she was prepared and excited to have a successful school year. Mrs. Newton has been an educator for 11 years and has spent the last 6 years with Newport News Public Schools as an assistant principal with the Discovery STEM Academy since 2018 and as a third grade teacher at the An Achievable Dream Academy from 2016 to 2018. Mrs. Newton was voted the Newport News Public Schools Elementary Teacher of the Year in 2018 by her colleagues, and she was recognized as the 2018 Teacher of the Year while at the An Achievable Dream Academy. She has been in leadership roles to address positive behavioral interventions and behavior management in the classroom. Most importantly, Mrs. Newton is a mother, she is a wife, and she is also a member of the Rich Neck community and should be regarded as nothing less than that.
The mother of the Virginia first grader who shot his teacher faces jail time after pleading guilty to a felony. Deja Taylor could spend up to 6 months behind bars as part of a plea deal on child neglect charges. Prosecutors say Taylor's son climbed onto a dresser and took her gun from her purse. Her attorney says the 25-year-old is still upset about the shooting.
She feels very responsible, feels very bad, and I think that's part of just the general irritability, anxiety, depression, and everything else.
Teacher Abby Zwerner is suing the Newport News School District for $40 million. Her attorney claims school staff warned administrators that Taylor's son had a gun.
U.S. are no longer a rarity. What happened at this Virginia elementary school in January was shocking. The shooter was only 6 years old. The victim, his 25-year-old teacher, Abigail Zwerner. Despite being shot, she managed to get all of her students to safety.
Female victim, she's been shot in the abdomen as well as a through and through into the hand.
Amid the ongoing criminal and civil cases, the family of the first grader who shot his teacher has remained quiet until now.
Does he talk about the incident?
No. He talks a lot more about the day before or the 2 days before than he does about January 6th.
Shortly after the shooting, the family released a statement saying, "Our son suffers from an acute disability and was under a care plan at the school that included his mother or father accompanying him to class every day. The week of the shooting was the first week when we were not in class with him."
What can you tell us specifically about your son's disability?
So he has ADHD. Some are able to have it at a very mild rate, but he's off the wall, doesn't sit still, ever.
And why did the school decide that it was no longer necessary for the family to be in class?
He had started medication and he was meeting his goals academically.
Had your son ever spoken about hurting the teacher, or was there anything any angst that he had against her?
No, he actually really liked her. I will say that week he did come home and he was talking, a lot about how he felt like he was being ignored. So he would come home and, "Mom, I don't think that she was listening to me. I didn't like that." And then actually he ended up getting suspended the next day because he was in class. He was trying to tell her something and she asked him to go sit back down. He threw his arms up, he said, "Fine." And when he threw his arms up, he knocked her phone out of her hand on accident. And he got suspended for that.
Zwerner did not respond to ABC News' request for comment, but in a lawsuit, she says the student slammed the cell phone on the ground so hard that it cracked and shattered. She's now filed a $40 million lawsuit against the Newport News School District and Rich Neck Elementary officials, claiming they ignored multiple warnings about the student's behavior and concerns that he had a gun. According to the suit, the child had a history of random violence and that he attacked students and teachers alike, both in and out of school.
Is that description accurate?
Whether it is or it isn't, the school enrolled him in September knowing all of the past behaviors.
The school district released a statement to ABC News saying it cannot release information about a student's educational record. And last month, the district filed to dismiss Zwerner's suit, arguing her injuries fall under workers' compensation. The gun used in the shooting was legally purchased by Taylor. She says it was kept locked away. Her attorney would not say how the 6-year-old got it.
How did your son access the gun?
Nobody knows.
No one knows. Let me just ask this, and I'll direct it to you, Jimmy. Is it that no one has asked him how he got it, or you're just not ready to reveal how he got it?
We're not ready to discuss that at this point. Yes, people have talked to him about that. And I don't know that any adult knows exactly how he got the gun.
Was the gun locked somewhere? It was locked somewhere.
In April, Taylor was charged with a felony count of child neglect and a misdemeanor count of recklessly leaving a firearm as to endanger a child. Her trial is set for August.
Do you feel in any way responsible for the shooting?
Yes, of course. That is my son, so I am, as a parent, obviously willing to take responsibility for him because he can't take responsibility for himself.
Anything that either of you would like to say to Abigail Zwerner?
I just truly would like to apologize that, out of the incident, she did get hurt. We were actually kind of forming like a relationship with me having to be in the classroom. And she was a really bright person.
In your 8-year-old child's school and shot a teacher. How does this happen?
It happens because this is how I feel. And as a prior military veteran, I kind of understand this because I had to do this with my soldiers. It's called grouping. And when we miss the group and we miss the target, we missed what we're supposed to do. Number one, the call to the parents. We missed that grouping. So half of these parents are confused, and when we get there, we're already riled up because we don't understand. Number two, the security measures. They said that they don't have metal detectors in the front of the school. I walk my son to school and pick him up every single day. There's only one person outside, but they also have road guards and stuff like that to get the kids into school. There are no metal detectors into that school. There's only one metal detector, and that's inside of the library. We don't have a precise guideline of clear backpacks that could possibly have helped this, as well as security with wands to get each child through properly. In an article yesterday, it was released, and they said that they have security measures inside of the facility, and kids are looked at every day in their backpack sporadically. My child's backpack is looked at every single morning by his teacher in his folder, Miss MacArthur, in the 2nd grade. Every single morning. How did we miss this? And again, prior raised concerns. We as parents raised these concerns before. We've talked to the principal. We talked to the guidance counselor. We went to town hall meetings. We spoke on Zooms. What else are we supposed to do?
Look, I mean, I understand. I cannot imagine. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old, and I cannot imagine what you're going through, what all the parents are going through. I do want to say we got a statement from the school, Mark, and they said there are many concerns we need to unpack before we can determine if any additional preventative measures would have impacted the probability of this incident occurring. It sounds like you think there's a lot they could change, but is it all right if I ask your son, Mark Jr., a question?
Yes, can you give me 1 second before we even say that? I'm not blaming the school. I'm blaming the city for not implementing the measures to help these schools after 3 years of school shootings.
Okay, we'll reach out to the city as well. But Mark Jr., how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good.
What was it like for you when this happened?
So when it happened, the teacher heard it from the 1st grade, and we all went to the room, And then when we got there, we all stayed quiet. 2 people were crying, I will help them. And when the cops came, we were marching to the gym and we were all safe. And they were programming it was safe in the home.
How can they make it so you feel safer? Because I know school's canceled today and tomorrow, but you're going to go back to school, right? And what can everyone do to make you feel safer?
Possibly just be myself, make sure I'm not scared.
You know, Dad, I know we got to go, but I know your boy said something to you, right? Right when you picked him up. What did he say to you?
He just said that he was scared and he's glad that we got there on time, and it was just a scary situation. His children were shaken up, parents was even more shaken up, but like I said, Rich Neck Elementary School is not to blame here. Their safety measures are implemented. They got these kids in a safe zone. I'm very glad that that's what happened.
Good.
And I just want the city to speak up and try to get more implements so this doesn't happen again.
Well, Mark Jr., you're very brave. Thank you both for being with us this morning.
This is what it looked like inside the Virginia Elementary School after a 6-year-old allegedly shot his teacher. Officers with the Newport News Police Department calmly got the kids out of the building and to safety by marching in the hallways and with high fives to each student on their way out. The department shared this video within a 5-minute tribute to its officers. The teacher at Rich Neck Elementary School, 25-year-old Abigail Zwerner, was shot in the hand and chest back in January. She spoke to the Today Show in March.
The initial gunshot went through my left hand and ruptured the middle bone as well as the index finger and the thumb. The gunshot then went into my chest up here where it actually still remains. So I have a scar up here and I still have some bullet fragments up here.
The boy's mom, who spoke to ABC News, has been charged with child neglect and recklessly leaving a loaded firearm to endanger a child.
As a parent, obviously willing to take responsibility for him because he can't take responsibility for himself.
Shot his teacher, also allegedly tried to choke another teacher. The Associated Press obtained legal documents that were filed by the wounded teacher, Abby Zwerner's attorney, that stated the student constantly cursed out staff and teachers, tried to whip other students with his belt, and allegedly tried to choke out another teacher in 2021 to the point that she couldn't breathe. It also stated that 2 days before the shooting, the student broke the teacher's phone and was given a 1-day suspension. Zwerner's attorneys say that the school administration were warned 3 times about a possible gun on campus, but didn't act. The school's assistant principal has since resigned, and the school's superintendent and principal have also lost their jobs. The teacher continues to recover at home and intends to sue the school district.
Okay, that's the biggest problem in this country. The statistics in the UK for crime is 0 for guns. Why is it so bad? Why is there a 7-year-old with a bloody gun? Come on, think about it. Let's do something. We've got a new governor now. Let's do something. Let's change it. You've got a beautiful country. You've got beautiful people. But what's the problem? Guns. How does a 7-year-old have a gun? That's what I'm pissed off with. I'm only here because my husband's in the military, or otherwise I would not have chosen to come to this country.
Thank you, ma'am.
Old boy who shot his teacher in Virginia, Deja Taylor, has been sentenced to 21 months in prison. The charges are related to using marijuana while owning a firearm. This follows an incident earlier this year where her son shot first grade teacher Abigail Zwerner with Taylor's gun at Rich Neck Elementary in Newport News. In addition to this federal case, Taylor pleaded guilty to child abuse in a state-level case and is awaiting sentencing in December. Prosecutors emphasized that this case involved severe consequences due to the combination of drug use and firearms. Highlighting an earlier incident where Taylor shot at her son's father, Taylor's defense argued for a lighter sentence, focusing on her addiction and remorse. Taylor's family members have expressed hope for her rehabilitation and future. The mother of the 6-year-old...
I remember a lot. The morning it felt like just...
What do you remember about that day?
I remember a lot. The morning it felt like just a regular school day, but I started hearing things and things started happening that made my my fear grow. As the day went on, it grew more. My fear grew more. I remember him pointing the gun at me. I remember the look on his face. I remember the gun going off. I remember feeling something. It was a pretty scary day. In that moment, my initial reaction was, your kids need to get out of here. You know, this is not a safe classroom anymore, and then you need to go find help for yourself. But I just wanted to get my babies out of there.
What did the kids do, say?
They were screaming. I think they knew as well that they had to get out of there, but they were extremely frightened and screaming.
Kids will hide in their school. I would rather be discussing archery practice.
I hope that none of you ever have to receive a text message from your elementary school child that is terrified. I did not hear from the school until I was already there.
My daughter was a student of Richneck. She was in that classroom. She's 6. She's terrified because the person that was advocating for her got hurt.
I send my kids to school and find myself praying to God that they will return home safely. They'll go through live shooter drills in which they are instructed to wait quietly at their desks. When asked about these drills, my 7-year-old daughter says that she sits with her head down and cries because she wonders if she will be able to hug her mommy again. I personally demand that the tears of all the students scared to go through the day in the system that you are charged with protecting will haunt you until you make this right.
The comment you made after the incident, today the students learned a valuable lesson in gun violence. You don't say that. They're 6. They're 6 years old. And 7, you don't say that. They witnessed the person, their teacher, right, get hurt. And she still managed to protect them while hurt. Listen to your teachers when they have concerns. Please, listen to them, all right? Don't have them get in trouble for opening their mouth, okay? Because they're in the classrooms. Y'all are not.
Some of us scared. Some of us angry. Some of us trying to figure out, I don't think I want this job anymore. We getting hit, kicked, punched, cursed, threatened. We get all kinds of kids and we welcome them, we love them. But you're not listening to us.
Our students view school as an obstacle, not a place of growth. And our students do not wonder if there will be another school shooting. They wonder when and where the next shooting will be.
As a parent, I am concerned. As an educator, I am equally as concerned about the means in which this incident was handled. Teachers, bus drivers, and other school staff have already brought up the issue of behavior for years. This is not a new problem. While I understand that students and parents should be held accountable for their actions, we cannot forget that our schools need the support of their administration. In this situation, the school administrator was notified of a potential weapon and did not follow the safety protocol.
Why did it take negative national attention before you took this seriously and actually reevaluated? I think it's time the citizens and parents of Newport News who did not elect you to reevaluate your services as our